Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, March 8th and we are on the European account. Now I talked about this, but I might as well just show it too. For the European account and the Asian account, I have just given up on the playing wild. Like, these accounts were started particularly late in the turn. They're only like 3-year-old accounts, so things like cards that are in the Hall of Fame are not things I could have affected. There's a couple of cards you get for free and can't disenchant for dust, but Goblins vs Gnomes, Blackrock Mountain, Grand Tournament, League of Explorers, Old Gods, Karazhan, and Gadgetzan. Like, I never really had that many cards for any of these expansions anyways, but I certainly had enough to disenchant all of that and get 5,000 dust. So I've got the cards that I found via Google search that are going to be nerfed and put in the Hall of Fame. I've crafted all of those cards on every account, and then I pushed it further on top of that, and I have 5,075 dust. What does that mean? It means when the Year of the Dragon starts and the next expansion happens, I will get some more dust because those cards get nerfed, and then disenchant those cards. On top of that, there's really no reason why Ungururu and Frozen Throne cards also get dusted, because those will also be in wild sets. It's been at least 6 months since I've played a single game in wild on any account. Now I'm keeping, for the moment, all the wild cards in my main account, which is about 5 years old, 6 years old maybe. So it's almost, it has a lot more of the wild cards, but frankly it probably makes a lot of sense to just dust everything when it goes in the wild, because wild is just the thing nobody cares about. And looking at 5,000 dust and knowing I can go to the HS Replay, or yeah, I think it's hsreplay.net, and get what is the top meta deck and tell it I've got all this dust to make the cards to make the top meta deck. This, I hope and I think, will put me in a good position for the next expansion to actually be more competitive. Like, here I need to just win a game with a Rogue Warrior, and the fact that that's not just happening on the first try on rank 20 is a little disappointing. And on top of that, the fact that I'm at rank 20 is particularly disappointing. So yeah, there's a lot of frustration there. Meanwhile, I have a challenge a friend account is on my main account, which nobody is online on a Friday, so that's a problem. So I'm gonna have to probably off screen spend a lot of extra time trying to friend random people, hoping somebody will stay online so I can challenge them, and then get that 80 gold and get that daily quest done. I don't know if there's anything else that needs to be dealt with. I'm gonna play this, but it's probably not a smart move. And I've got a ton of news, a ton of games that came out. So we've got a game on Steam here called Ruin Nation that looks like it's a platformer, Super Meat Boy style. I need to call them just hardcore platformers. It's like, yeah, hardcore platformer with running and gunning. It's 89 cents. I don't like to play hardcore platformers, so it's not going on my wish list. Play that. I don't know how many news stories I have compared to just games to cover. Let's see. Gamatsu has an article, Murder Detective Jack the Ripper details Chapter 1, Sub-Story System and Bonus Theater. This is more of a bit of information that's getting leaked out, as Japanese developers often do, is that they just trickle out information to grow hype. Let me just scroll down to the bottom through all these single character images they're showing off. Alright.
I don't need any of you. Job's done.
Yeah, at the bottom it says it's due out for the PS. Murder Detective Jack the Ripper is due out for PlayStation 4 and Switch on April 25th in Japan. It looks kind of like a visual novel, so I wouldn't be surprised if it did come out to the West, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it didn't. The Switch is the thing that makes it seem like it has a decent chance to come out to like the Nintendo eShop and the rest of the world. Let's see. This and this. Kill that guy quickly. Next we have a game on Steam called One Screen Platformer, which looks like a hardcore platformer again. People seem to really love to make these. I don't know why they think they sell. Maybe they do sell, and maybe I'm wrong about this. This is 79 cents. If they sell though, it's discounted. And it's an achievement game with 90 achievements and a bunch of letters as achievements. If real platforming games did sell by themselves and they weren't just achievement games or some other scam, I would think the price for them would be going up instead of them staying at near bare minimum price. Next we have a game on Steam that's a bunch of Asian characters and it says Cube Human. I can't even figure out what this is. It looks like it's a platforming kind of adventure game. Maybe it's an Infinite Runner. Whatever this is, it's not interesting. Like, if this is supposed to be some kind of puzzle or something, I don't get it. It's $5.99 discounted, English and Chinese. Yep, it looks like a very low effort game by the growing standard of very low effort games. Gamatsu has an article. Dragon Marked for Death version 1.3.0 update is now available. Let's see. The game Dragon Marked for Death, if we do a web peek, I remember this thumbnail title screen, but I think this is like a 3DS Vita game, and it actually doesn't look anything like that in the gameplay. It's kind of like a tactical RPG game, I think. Dungeon crawler type game. It's available for the Switch worldwide and there's nothing new to say there, so that's kind of not news in a lot of ways.
I don't have enough mana.
See, that's the problem now, is that games, because they're so digital, you can just put out an update and potentially get a news article out of it. Can I make this? I can do 6 damage. I could have done 8 damage if that was still alive. But I don't doubt this guy's gonna let me survive till next turn. Okay. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And I can do this, but I've lost it. Okay. So Gamatsu has an article over here. Romance visual novel Hello Lady Superior Dynamis is coming to the PS4 June 27th in Japan. It's a port of a 2018 PS Vita version. Seems like it's a almost royalty or British royalty style romance novel. Let's see. If it's coming to the PS4 in Japan, it probably means that if there are any plans of this coming anywhere else or coming to PC, they aren't coming anytime soon. Because you wouldn't make those announcements. Also, you would make those promises even if you were saying that the game would come to PC a year later.
Valera versus Thrall.
PC is still not the default in Japan. And it seems like PlayStation still is getting a few jobs here and there, a few games, because the people are just porting their Vita games to the PlayStation quick and easy, because they're not making the Vita anymore. In a funny way, it's basically Sony has figured out a way to make money by forcing people to port over their Vita games to the PlayStation, or spend more time in education and effort to go to the Switch or go to the Xbox, which very few people are going to go to the Xbox porting a Vita game, or go to PC. And so if you're a small or medium company and you really had no intention of doing anything with your Vita game, but you don't want to stop getting sales altogether, you're now forced to do more work at the whim of Sony. And meanwhile, Sony's getting potentially more games on their platform and getting more license fees. So yeah, it feels like it was definitely a win-win situation. A win situation for Sony and a poor situation for the game developers. Moving on, we have another Gamatsu article. Kazuna Kiramiku Koi Iroha for PS4 launches June 27th in Japan. Looks like it's a ninja girl, anime girl of some sort, visual novel. It's coming out June 27th. Like, I'm not gonna watch any of these trailers. Or you know what? I'll skip through this trailer just to see. Like, oh, always looking, trying to see if there's any chance that one of these might be a really good tale. Although the trailer really wouldn't even show you that, and all this trailer is the opening movie. Yeah, there's a good chance. The thing I think a lot of Western game players, people who don't play visual novels, which is most of the West, let's face it, there could be good stories in visual novels that if you just threw a little bit of gameplay into it, might sell. Like, maybe. There's a lot of could, might, and maybes in that statement, but I think there might be something to that, where you could take a visual novel, take its story, and say, hey, we don't have any story for this first-person shooter game we have, but we could bring in the story, and then we might get something closer to, well, not a first-person shooter, but I could see the what is that one called? I could see a fighting game, particularly like BlazBlue, taking the story of a visual novel and taking the character animations of a visual novel and putting that in a more relatable gameplay style. I think that's kind of what BlazBlue does. Alright. How can I do this? I do this, and do this, and I can guess hit this guy. Next on Steam, we've got a game called Voipass, which is a troll game, a very low effort game. Like, I want to get away from calling them troll games, but I'm pretty sure this one is a troll game. $11.99. The part I'm not showing you is the trailer just showing off how you have this a character avatar in their underwear and you're customizing what they look like. This is just a ugly looking game regardless. Alright, so that guy just destroyed my move.
Many options.
Let's try this.
Time's up. Let's do this.
Next we have a game on Steam called Shadow Legends, where you can feed a horse a carrot and do archery and sword fight and apparently cook a steak and hammer your sword straight. You know, in a lot of ways this could just be called another one of these medieval asset flip games, but there's enough polish here to make this look like a game with real effort put into it. Sure, you could make the claim that this is just a Skyrim game clone, but Skyrim's old enough that it certainly could do for some clones, quite frankly. The problem here, though, is I'll put this on the follow list, but it's $25 and it requires VR, and I suspect what that really boils down to is that there isn't too much of a game here. And in all fairness, even though it's rated mostly positive, the thing that made Skyrim Skyrim is the fact that it was a really well written collection of events. Without those collection of events,
Time's up. Let's do this.
You're just left with a kind of generic collection of systems in Skyrim, like archery, sword swinging, walking, riding a horse. Do you even ride the horse, or do you just use the horse to fast travel in Skyrim? And so yeah, as I'm looking at the Shadow Legends video, and he's drinking beer and guillotining a zombie's head and playing with a dog, this does in a lot of ways look like it might just be a collection of actions and events that you might get bored with pretty quickly, but there's a lot being shown even at that. Like, maybe Shadow of Legend would be the beginning of something that got funded that might make some better sense. If somebody came into it and said, okay, you've got the beginning of a game here, let's now hire a writing team and flesh this out into a good 200 hour game. But the price might be too high. I don't know. I'll put it on the follow list. I'll think about it. I'll probably never get a VR headset, so that'll probably be as far as it's up. So here's a Gamatsu article, and we've been talking about this. EA Play 2019 is set for June 7th to the 9th. They're skipping a press conference. But also, according to Gamasutra, EA is not having a press conference at E3 either, which is just like a week away or a couple days away from that. So it seems like EA is not doing a press conference at its own event or E3, and thus they're not really going to personally announce anything, which is fine because with Sony skipping the press conference too, that kind of just leaves Microsoft and a couple others, and Microsoft could certainly promote any EA games, or the PC Gamer Show could promote any games.
Here we go.
I forgot about the PC Gamer Show. So there's 2 or 3 other options if EA has anything that they want to really promote. Now, I predicted that 2019 would be the year of studios going under and going bankrupt, and this may be just a money-saving measure for EA. I doubt EA will be one of the companies that goes bankrupt in 2019, but they're certainly not doing great. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. The Sims 4 Welcome to Strangerville isn't so strange. This is the expansion. It doesn't have a review number on it, so this is kind of just a hype article. I've seen 3 screenshots, and I don't want to waste the time to read an article about an expansion for The Sims that I'd never play, because I'm never going to play The Sims. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Here we go.
Now, we haven't had one of these in months. So apparently either people got the message that nobody cares about text-based only games, particularly very low effort text-based games, or maybe Steam was doing some level of curation saying we don't want text-based games. It is a story we will be talking about later, that Steam laid off 13 people and a bunch of other contractors. Mostly it seems related to VR though, so I don't think you could say that the people on the VR team were also the same people looking at game submissions, although it may very well be the case that they were. As for this game though, this is a text-based game. Like, I would never play anything like this that looks like this. This is the bad visual novel, in the sense that it's not even visual, it's just a novel. And it stops becoming much of a game and more of a just choose your own adventure book. They want $2.99 for this, and it's English only. I bet there's probably a few people that like those types of games, but I think they're very, very small. Because if you're gonna just read a book, there's probably better and easier ways to read books than going to Steam. Let's see. Gematsu has an article, Stories, The Path of Destinies. I'm not sure if this is how you spell Destinies. Let's see. You spell Destinies D-E-S-T-I-N-I-E-S? Interesting. It's coming to the Xbox One March 22nd. I wonder if this is a port from PC. No, it first launched on the PS4 and PC in April 26th, so it is a PC port, I guess, as much as it's PS4. Okay. I'll look at this trailer, but I don't see anything particularly interesting about this game.
Here we go.
So let's just skip. It's a little colorful. This might be that game where it felt like one thing, but really then was just a kind of hack and slash game. Like, it feels like an adventure puzzler puzzling game, but it does seem like it has some hack and slashing in it too, and I'm not sure if this is the game that was really short. There's so many games I've seen now, it could be anything. Let me see, I guess. What we do here is just Google search this game and see what the Steam reviews have to say about it. I'm still stuck with trying to find a rogue or warrior victory, and now we've got the fuzzy graphics. Well, now I can play a priest or warlock, and I almost certainly will get the priest and warlock victory immediately. Alright, so here's Story's Path of Destinies on Steam. It's rated very positively, so it's not the game I was thinking about. Obviously, it's $14.99. I'll have to just double check to make sure this is on the fall list or the wish list. I think at this point, if it is on the fall list, there's no reason for me not to promote it to the wish list, because this is definitely a game that's got enough reviews to justify playing. TechRaptor has an article. This one's a little interesting. The PlayStation 4 update 6.50 adds remote play for Apple devices. So people with Apple phone or tablets can stream their PS4 within, I assume, their own network. I don't know if it works over the internet. So that's an iPhone or iPad now. Here's apparently PS4's remote play feature has been available for quite some time on PC and iMac products, but for those seeking a mobile option, the choice has been severely limited to only Sony Ericsson phones, apparently, and the PS Vita. I guess there is no Android, just generic option. Now, here's my question about remote play on PlayStation 4 is, what games do you want to remote play? Like, sure, there's that cliched thought that I want to play video games while I'm sitting on the toilet. Or something like that. Like, but in reality, if you're playing a good-looking, like, God of War style game, AAA game, you want it on the screen, on the good-looking big screen. It pretty much requires it in a lot of games. I imagine a tiny screen is going to make menus and options hard to read. If you're playing some small, like, arcadey game on the PlayStation, maybe remote play makes sense then. It feels like what PlayStation is doing here is they're making up for the fact that they've just got rid of the Vita. And I guess there might be some truth to that thought, that, like, alright, we don't have the Vita now, we have no portable solution. For those few instances when you can't be in front of a TV. TVs are cheap these days, though. It's hardly feels like for the average person that you're not gonna have at least a couple options of TVs. So, sure, in the old days, I get that people might have fought for a television. That if there was only one in the house. or 2, and then it was a family of like 5 or 6. But I personally am at the point where I've got way more TVs than I even need. I could get rid of easily 2 TVs in my house because I just don't use them, and it wouldn't be a problem. Right,
Your magic shall not save
and do that. But I guess it's nice. It's nice the feature is there. A lot of times features are just on consoles and systems just because, and that's all that really is required of them, is to just because exist.
Unleash me.
Next we have a game on Steam called TikTok: A Tale for Two, which feels like it's been named specifically to be referenced or searched when people are typing in TikTok, formerly known as Musical.ly. That being said, this is rated positively already. Can you play this single player? No, you have to play it for co-op, and you get a 2-pack regardless of whether you want one or not, for $5.99, no discount. I can't play this game, unfortunately. I mean, I could put it on the follow list all I want, but I might as well not, because I'll accidentally buy it, and unless I can find an online co-op person who is willing to play with me while I'm rambling on and recording my videos, which I just don't have anybody in my life like that, this is a game that severely limits my ability to play it and cover it. Let's see.
Onward, friends! To adventure!
Next we have a game called Audica, A-U-D-I-C-A. This looks like it is a beat rhythm game in VR. It's just you're shooting instead of Beat Saber or whatever. It's just another musical game with flashing lights. They all look the same. It's rated mostly positive. Early access for $19.99. At this point, as somebody who has no rhythm and who's seen far too many clones of Beat Saber, I'm willing to eliminate this game from consideration and Beat Saber and just say, look, I'm just not going to play any of these types of games. Alright, I can hit that. I can hit that.
You command.
I can hit that. Play that. Draw a card. I can do that. That took a lot of health and cards to do. Next we have what I can only assume is a very low effort game called I Hate This Game, which seems to just be one of these frustration style games with very little effort in it. $2 discounted, English and Russian. What's starting to scare me is I'm seeing a lot of games today that just came out and already have like 11 reviews. I might have to raise my standards and say it needs 40 reviews before I'm willing to consider it the mostly positive, because I don't know, maybe people have figured out how to make more fake accounts on Steam, or people are willing to to buy more copies of the same game to review it positively.
Mushroom power!
Let's see. Gamatsu has an article, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, PS4, Switch, and PS Vita limited run physical editions have been announced. So if you want to get limited run physical editions of these games, they're coming out apparently March 15th via the limited run games online store, which limited run as a company, as an online store, is figuring out how to release games that normally would not, let's just move over to casual, normally would not justify making physical runs, but still they're doing it. The selection for this is not, the deck, selected deck is not valid for this game mode. Did I mess up my combo priest deck? Because I disenchanted a bunch of cards. Nope. There's nothing wrong with my combo priest deck. That is an odd error. Let's see if that happens again. Let's see if this is interesting. Well, has it just decided to update right now? Did the expansion just come out like right now? That would be insane. So I'm gonna launch out here, see, check for updates. It says it's up to date. I'm gonna launch the game back onto the European account, and yeah, this game that I'm looking at is not really family friendly. So there's a game on Steam called Ecchi Nico Girls Puzzle. Ecchi being lewd in Japanese, or roughly translated into that. Neko being the word for cat, girls being just the English word for girls. So anime cat girls in lewd underwear. Let's try that again. Third time's a charm, right? Combo priest casual. Standard. The game is rated mostly positive again, which is confusing. It's early access and 79 cents. And it's got 28 achievements with letters, which tells me it's an achievement game, which of course it is.
The light shall bring victory.
So, yeah. I want to keep this. And I guess I want to keep this, but I'm not really sure. So let's not keep it. I already mentioned this, but I'll mention this again. I'm streaming using a new encoding process that's been updated, so maybe the video on the live stream will look a little bit different. Let me know if you think it looks better or worse, or just the same in the chat. That'd be very helpful. Theoretically, if this all works perfectly fine, I'll move over all recording and streams to the new encoding, and that might be a slightly higher frame rate. Not that frame rate has ever really been a significant problem. I doubt this would be a case of fixing the few games that I have had problems running on my computer, which are mainly Lego games and Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil games in general. But I only care about 4. But I'd hate to buy Resident Evil 7 or Resident Evil 2 and find out that they don't run on my computer either. Moving on, we also mentioned this, but TechCrafter has an article. Blizzard and Google, Good Old Games. I almost said Google. I did say Google. Blizzard and Good Old Games, GOG, bring back the original Diablo. Warcraft 1 is next. Or just Warcraft is its real name.
You are the Shadow's puppets. Do you like to play with fire?
There we go. So this is great, but unfortunately it also is this is odd. It's odd that it's not on the Blizzard shop. The article goes on to say Diablo 2 has been available on the Blizzard shop for quite some time, but Diablo 1 has been neglected. There we go, double this. So you could heal. I could double. Alright, so heal, double. Attack 10. There we go. Yeah, it's odd that they didn't release it on battle.net. It's odd that they haven't done anything with it. It does now have out of the box Windows 10 compatibility. Let's see. It's doing 20 frames per second SVGA graphics, and it has a bunch of bug fixes and the possibility of matchmake through the classic version of Blizzard's battle.net. So it's just not the new battle.net. Interesting. Why not bring that to Steam though? Like, why bring it to Good Old Games instead of Steam? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Alright, and where are we now? Still with the Rogue Warrior victories. Playing on casual. Diablo is available for $9.99. There probably is a host of games that I should buy on Good Old Games. It'd just be so hard to keep them sorted. And if they ever came, if I personally was to ever buy Diablo 1 on Good Old Games, and then it came to Steam, I would just buy it again, so it'd be a waste of money. Meanwhile, is it really necessary or helpful to buy Diablo 1 right now for me? No. I'm not gonna play it. I'm not gonna cover it. There's speedrunners out there. Like every year I see a speedrun of Diablo 1, but that's kinda it. This one
The
greeted
pleasure
me.
is mine.
Gamatsu has an article, Valhalla for PS4 and Switch launches May 30th in Japan. Update. The Western release date is yet to be dated. Valhalla is spelled VA-11 Hall-A. I thought they had this new cover art too.
So many options.
Like, what is Valhalla though? I'm gonna watch this because I've heard of it. I just don't remember what it is. It's kind of, I thought it was more of a Western game, so I don't know why it's coming out to the East first. Looks like an old school NES RPG game, but no, it's like a bartending game. Like half visual novel, half bartending game. You're talking to people. Yeah, it's tagged as a visual novel game by Gamatsu, and I think that is the accurate thing, is that you're going to be bartending people and listening to their stories. And so there might be a decent amount of translation that you have to do around that.
Here we go.
Let's see. Just make sure that these guys can't kill everything. Let's see. Gematsu has an article. Aglios for the PS4, Xbox One, and Switch launches April 25th. This is a Wonder Boy inspired 2D action game dated for consoles. Doesn't look particularly interesting to me, though. Might be cool, might not. I guess the thing that really it comes down to in this is, why would I play a Wonder Boy inspired game when I haven't even played Wonder Boy on PC and I know it's there? See. Yeah, Aglios looks like an old Nintendo platformer style game. I might actually kind of does look interesting. So see if it has a link to Steam on it. Have to click on 2 different links to get to it, but eventually get there. Okay. This and poisonous and this
Mushroom power!
and that should go good. Yeah, this game Aglios says hard mode now available, which makes me think that it's not that hard, which is kind of what I'm looking for. It's rated very positively. It's labeled an RPG Metroidvania platformer. Seems like there's a decent collection of boss fights. So yeah, I need to double check to make sure that this is either on the follow list or the wish list. It's $14.99. And I think I'll put it on the wish list, even though I haven't played the Wonder Boy style games. You know, sometimes I'm just looking for an excuse to avoid it, playing a game when I really shouldn't be. I should consider it more and not try and cop out.
Here we go.
Let's see, TechRaptor has an article. Fruit trading game Mango Kart arrives on Steam later this March. This is a hype article for a game that I don't think anybody would ever want to play. And they're getting bad, TechRaptor, about these hype articles.
I wonder.
Next, we have a game on Steam called Behind Enemy Lines, Operation Arctic Hawk. Looks like a military first-person shooter from a company I've never heard of. It's $3.74. Let's see what else this developer's made. Seems like kinda nothing that's been reviewed and a lot of DLC. Yeah, I don't have any faith in this developer, and this doesn't particularly look like my style game anyways. Alright. Do your hero attacks +1.
Who goes there?
This guy's
2
toast.
damage. Hit that. Is that gonna respawn? No.
Mushroom power!
Here we go.
TechRaptor has an article, annoying roommate simulator out of space announced. They have like just a title image here for it, and that is it.
Didn't go as
Has a Steam page, but again, just kind of a hype article. Man. And see, here's a thought and a problem in general. Let's say you're me and you're trying to find news sources that aren't too annoying to get announcements of what's happening in the video game industry. And let's say you find a website that you think you like TechRaptor. Who's to say that the people in charge or what they decide to post doesn't change on a whim? And I guess this is the problem in general, is if you love like CNN or Fox News and then the next day CNN and Fox News did a complete 180 and all of a sudden they're reporting the exact opposite tone and style of reports than what you liked, you would just have to move on. So I'm kind of feeling like for TechRaptor, we might be beginning the process of a breakup there, where it's just like I've had it with TechRaptor. Let's go ahead and switch back to the Americas account for just a second to see if I can challenge a friend. If anybody is online, that would be great. Meanwhile, we have a game called Need for Speed Off-Road Edition, which looks like it's a low-effort name and a low-effort mudding tank car driving game of some sort. It's $2.96 with 1% discounted. Yeah. That's not making it to the follow list. And yes, nobody is online. Alright, well, over to the Asian account we go. Next we have a game on Steam called Nightshade. Now the only thing that would even for a second make me suggest playing this game is this game looks old. And I don't recall it, and I've never heard of it, so it says it's coming out 2019 too. So I'm gonna give this one maybe a chance to tell me that actually this is just a re-release of a very old game. No, nothing in it seemed to say that. It seems like it's a brand new game that's just being animated with 8-bit graphics to look like a very, very old point-and-click adventure game. It's from Pico Interactive. I believe Pico Interactive, though, isn't that the company that does publish a bunch of old games? Yeah, it does. I don't know. You know what? I'll put it on the follow list because of Pico Interactive. I know them as a old game publisher. So, alright. Can't re-roll any of these. We'll have to win 2 games of any class, play 10 demons, and play 30 paladin cards. Also, I'm not sure. I'll have to check the footage if I wanted to be sure. I'm not sure the European account got the 2 packs. So either tomorrow I get 2 packs, or I already got 2 packs and I just immediately forgot. And these 2 packs were for a Choose a Champion event. So I imagine my champion that I picked he went somewhere but didn't win. You know, a quick Google search on who you think is gonna win probably would get you in second place minimum if you for the choose your champion events. But let's be honest, a choose your champion is not gonna really help you that much. So I did the same thing as I did in the European accounts. I got rid of all of my wild cards. But you can see that gave me considerably less dust on the Asian account than it did on the America's account. The only 2 cards I have are these, which can't be dissolved into dust because they were given for free. So for some reason the European account will just have a bigger advantage than what the Asian account has, even though those 2 accounts were made at the same time. Maybe that's just a whim of card packs, or maybe something else happened. I don't know. But yeah, 2,600 dust before the nerfs happened is still pretty good, and let's not forget that when the nerfs do happen, several of these expansions are going to go into wild, and I might as well just dust them also. All we need really is a complete classic pack and the most recent expansion that is about to come out, and that'll be the foundation for these two accounts to try and grow and get better. Demons, let's play the Warlock deck. Well, we're actually kind of high, so instead let's play the Paladin deck to start off with. Nope, went to the totally wrong button. Odd Paladin ranked, let's hope that works. Next we have a game on Steam called Radical Rex. This looks like an old game too, and it's from Pico Interactive. Same thing, $4.24 discounted. Like, I'll put this on the file list. The thing about Pico, of course, is they put out a bunch of old games, but that doesn't mean that they were good games or have any relevancy to modern time. Like, I really even struggled as I was covering these Star Wars games, which I probably did not do a very good job at all covering them. Like, I struggled in a lot of ways to justify even playing X-Wing or Dark Forces Jedi Knight series. It's like, sure, they're Star Wars games, but they're so old and they've been non-canonized and uncanonized or decanonized, like would be maybe the phrase. So yeah, then they're not really worth playing in my mind. Alright, let's give this guy
Speak your peace.
some power. Do this. And then do this. And do this.
The battle.
And kill that.
The battle.
Give that man a turn to get ready.
Turn. Let's see, Gamatsu has an article. A Quake engine powered shooter, Wrath Aeon of Ruin, has been announced for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. And that looks creepy, certainly. It's coming out in early 2020. That was a loud sound for somebody coming online. This one has a Steam page and a trailer. I'll look at the trailer, but frankly, being a Quake-powered game probably is an indicator that your game is not worth much.
The battle.
What a
See, and if this next turn he plays something that does like 2 damage to everybody, that'll be a problem. See, I don't even know why you would make a Quake powered game. You could make a game very much like Quake without using Quake. So, and it does just look horrible. Like, I don't even want to follow up on it. It looks terrible. And not in a way that, oh, people who played Quake will be nostalgic for this. It's just like, no, this just looks terrible, period.
The battle for justice.
Gone down to 10. Gamatsu has an article. Tokyo Chronos U Momono trailer. A girl with a simple and innocent personality. This is probably a visual novel. It says the 4th character trailer for a virtual reality mystery visual novel, Tokyo Chronos. Interesting. So, very Japanese thing to do is we're promoting a visual novel more than average, so we're gonna make a trailer for every single character. And the virtual reality part, I don't think actually applies to what the idea that the game happens in virtual is playable. Oh, it is playable in VR. Oculus Rift, interesting. That's surprising. I need to play some more Paladin cards. Like, I was just about to say, oh, I bet they're just mean that in the story of the game they go into virtual reality, but you can't actually play it in VR. But no. Tokyo Chronos is due out for the Oculus and Steam VR on March 20th and PlayStation VR in July.
I will fight with honor. I will command the light.
Not only is it coming out for VR, it's coming out for VR and PC before PlayStation VR, where arguably for a long amount of time there it felt like PlayStation VR was the one that was getting the good games and the focus. But I guess not.
The light protects me.
Next game I have is tagged nudity and sexual content, so I can't show it, so I have to be family friendly. It's called A Bunch of Asian Characters and Juice Girl. Looks like it might just be a clicker game or a gachapon. No, it's straight up just a clicker game. Bunch of anime girls. There seems to be something to do on top of just clicking, where you also do something with a bunch of juices or mixers on a bar stool in the background, as I'm looking at this trailer, but otherwise it seems like there's just anime girls that have been cut out and put on top of it, of a background. This game is early access and $1.59. It's English and Chinese in the interface, but somehow German and Japanese in the subtitles, but not in the interfaces. So it's like a 3-element clicker game where there are girls you click on, that a fruit juices that you can click on, and a spinning lottery system of sorts that you can click on.
Reporting for duty.
Repent.
The battle.
To get money, to unlock more things, to get money, to unlock more things, basically, is what I imagine this boils down to. Now, a few years back when I covered several clicker games, I did end up saying that Sakura Clicker probably was the one I would want to look at if I was going to play a mindless clicker game over and over again. In the same thought, I would guess Juice Girl would follow that same pattern. The difference though is Juice Girl is $1.59, whereas Sakura Clicker is free to start at the very least. Like, there might be some microtransactions in there. Sakura Clicker also doesn't really have any nudity. It's just lewd costumes.
Handle it.
So maybe $1.80 to go to the more extreme element of that makes sense, but you know this isn't a good game. I wouldn't really waste your money or your time on a bad game. Like that does not sound like a smart decision. Like there's easier ways to get pornography for free if that's all you're just looking for. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article, Satisfactory Early Access release date set for March 2019. I think we even covered this article before. Let's see. I think also Satisfactory is an Epic Games exclusive. So I don't know if it's even coming to Steam at the same time. Let's hit this.
Get behind me.
GameIndustry.biz has an article, GISMART, which I guess is GI Smart, announces an investment program for indie devs. Publisher of music-based mobile apps and games offers up $1 million to selected developers. So they're just throwing money around. This is not video game related, but the Bill and Melinda Gates Charity Foundation is apparently suing somebody because they gave them money to help develop like the cure for like mosquito nets or something. Like I don't know what. Something very charitable, and instead the organization allegedly took the money and paid investors and paid back loans instead, and now they're suing to get the money back. Which is definitely a problem. Certainly, if you're trying to do something honorable, there's going to be scammers out there that are going to try and take advantage. Like a lot of charities out there are scams themselves, and or feel definitely like they're scams and do very little to actually fix the cause that they're claiming they're trying to fix. Next we have a game on Steam called A Meadow Place, which looks like it's a random flower placement game of some sort. Whatever it is, it doesn't look that interesting. It's $13.99 too. That is way too expensive for what this looks like. I don't know how many more games I have. Probably a lot. GameIndustry.biz has an article, cloud games tech firm Hayden, H-A-D-E-A-N, raises £7 million. Venture capital firm Draper eSpirit leads the rounds for the London startup. Let's see if there's anything more to be said here. Hayden and EVA online developer CCP have teamed up to demonstrate this tech. The first product built with... I have to go back here. First product built with Hayden's technology is Aether Engineer, which runs on the cloud-based OS. So, seems to be like it's a middleware company of sorts. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. After that. I have two cards that literally are useless right now.
Reporting for duty.
Next we have a game on Steam called The Wild Age, which looks like it's a riding a horse and building up a base game. Doesn't look terrible. See what the price is on this. That's early access, $14.99. 45 achievements. That's a little too expensive. Should I be eliminating games because they're priced too expensive at the beginning of their release? Maybe not, but it does speak to something, and I'm really gun shy on buying mediocre games at a high price, and this looks like a mediocre game at a high price, so I am gonna skip it. This is so dumb, I can't do anything. Again, Mr. Chose an article, get a job. Game Mechanic Studios is hiring a gameplay engineer. This job is in North Hollywood, California. Game Mechanic Studios. Why would you put your office in North Hollywood? I think that's like some of the most expensive real estate in California.
To battle! To battle!
Job done.
And I have no idea what Game Mechanic Studios has worked on, but they claim they've worked with Activision, Warner Brothers, and Microsoft on AAA mobile and console projects. So it looks like they're a third-party developer. So yeah, maybe you consider that job. Maybe you don't, depending on if you're qualified for the potential one person who might be listening and might be qualified.
Reporting for duty. For justice.
Job's done.
Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Rhythm Nights, which looks like a VR rhythm game. I've said earlier I'm kind of done with VR rhythm games. Early access requires VR, $19.99. Yeah. Nothing particularly special about that.
So many possibilities.
Next we have a game on Steam called Galaxy Trucker Extended Edition, which looks kind of like well, they say it's a board game. Interesting. It looks like it's kind of a slightly different version and take on FTL. You're finding garbage pieces and building your ship out of it. Interesting. $6.19. I'm gonna put this one on the fall list. See what people say if they actually like it. Or not. This might get really repetitive and boring quick, this type of game, but you could certainly have said the same about FTL.
For justice.
Job done.
Next we have a game on Steam called Extreme League, which looks like it's a snowboarding game.
I wonder.
$4.99 discounted. 9 achievements. You know, I haven't found a good snowboarding game yet on Steam, so I'm gonna put this on the fall list. I'm a little wary, since it supports Chinese and Russian, that it might be a low effort game, but you know, until I can find one that's better than this, I'll put it on the follow list and see what people have to say in the reviews.
Reporting for duty.
Alright. Let's do
Behold
this.
the might of Stormwind! For justice!
Yeah, if I had any card in my hand that could just do 3 direct damage right now, I would win. But I don't, so I lose. Falling down the rank. I have to play one more Paladin game. Next we have a game on Steam called Production Line Car Factory Simulator. I think we saw an article about this already. It's rated very positively, but to me it just looks terrible. I mean, it's just not something that I'd want to play as a simulation game. Also, it feels like a game where you're just doing somebody's job. $24.99 is way too expensive. Also,
I will fight with honor.
But yeah, I don't know if I can even trust Steam's reviews anymore. Like, why is this so very positive? Maybe it's just because it's obvious what it is, and maybe there are a lot of car people out there who like the idea. Maybe all those programming games were just a little too confusing, but when you take a programming game and turn it into a car factory game, maybe it starts to make a little bit more sense. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe there's some streamer out there that's making that game look really popular. Or making people buy it and review it positively. More positively than it should be. I don't know. But I guess I'm gonna have to just stick to my guns and say, no, it's not for me. I don't want to play that game.
The light protects me.
Gamma Sutra has an article. Epic Games is now being sued over loot boxes in Fortnite Save the World. California man has filed a legal complaint against the game developer on behalf of his son, alleging the loot box-esque loot llamas in Fortnite Save the World flavor of the game exploits children. Interesting, and we'll have to just wait and see what happens there.
Speak your
because that's very much a lawsuit that might be won, or maybe not. You never know. Let's see. Gamatsu has an article. The fighting RPG SNK All-Stars, or SNK All-Star, has been announced for smartphones. Maybe just in Japan. So a fighting SNK RPG game for iOS and Android devices, free to play with in-app purchases, no release date.
Let me think.
I'm weighing out my throat again. And I've been taking breaks too. Yeah, there's no talk here per se if it's coming just to Japan or the entire world. I bet it's coming to the entire world though. I need to take like a 6-month break. I could never do it for just 6 months of not talking to anybody or saying anything. Like, even if I wasn't streaming anymore, I don't think I could stay silent. I'd basically have to break my jaw, have it wired shut, something along that line. Right.
Reporting for duty.
Now if I break this up and do that,
I fight.
that's probably a smarter move. Well, yeah, that smart move didn't do anything for me, but whatever.
Reporting for duty.
At least I can draw cards this time.
For justice.
But we fight.
GameIndustry.biz has an article. Rogue Games closes 1.25 million financing round. Grisham Robotics leads the seed funding for the mobile publisher's expansion. So a new cell phone company has been funded, possibly for a good reason, probably for not. Alright, if I do this, I'll start off with adapt this one with Wind Fury or Health, and then do this.
Reporting for duty.
And you kind of just have to leave everything here alone. Next we have a game on Steam that's a very low effort game called Simpluk Legend of the Gustavo Bueno. Whatever that is, it's probably a troll title. Like, it's just not visually appealing enough. $1.99 English and Spanish. So this might be a Spanish troll game. This is chapter 3, which means I probably am going to run into a chapter 2 and a chapter 1 at some point. Let's see.
Reporting for duty. Reporting for duty. For justice.
Play that. We got him down to 1. Next we have a low effort game called Glad Vloghouse Tower Defense, which English is not supported on this one, 59 cents, and it's Russian language only, so yeah, another very low effort troll game. Okay, can we do this? Let's just hope that we can.
The battle.
3,
The battle.
6,
The battle.
there,
For justice.
and there. That's 2 games and 30 Paladin cards, which then leaves me only with the daily quest of playing 10 Daemons. So we just hope the Zoo Warlock wins me up to rank 18. We're early in the month, so if I can get up to 18 and kind of stay around there, that would be cool. But it's probably not going to happen. If I could even get higher, that would be great. But I'm not expecting that to happen this month until the expansion happens. If the expansion happens and things change, well then things would change. I need to play demons, so I'm gonna hold on to the demons. We've got a game on Steam called Eternal Journey New Atlantis. This is a adventure game slash hidden object game. Question is there any actual hidden objects in here, or is this just an adventure game? Because if it's just an adventure game and the price isn't too high, nah, here's some hidden object games. Kind of sworn off hidden object games. This is 20% off for $5.59. It might be good, it might be bad, but anything that has even a small amount of hidden object elements in it is usually so bad that it's not worth it. And $5.59 is kind of expensive. Suppose I could look at the developer and the publisher and see what else they published. See if there's some reviews or anything else. The Viking Brothers games, which have no reviews, and a bunch of other hidden object games on this publisher. And this is the first game from this developer.
I
Let's see.
In the light's name.
Discard a random card. I can't really do that, can I? So I'm just gonna draw a card. My turn. Yeah, I kind of don't think I'm going to get through all these games today. So we may have to, at the end of the second recording, which is really where we're just gonna wrap this up.
Why do you call?
Who wants a piece of that?
Until 2 more turns where I can play this demon, I'm stuck. Next we have a game on Steam called Joan Jade in the Gates of Zabalba, I guess. $5.59 discount. It's from the same publisher. It's probably either an old adventure game or a hidden object game. I imagine it's a hidden object game. Having the black bars on the sides implies to me that it's older than brand new. And from the same publisher, we have someone who's clearly just they are just flooding Steam with their old games.
It's playtime.
Okay. Can I do anything here?
Let me at it.
And I can hit that. And I can
You command.
hit that. And then it's kind of all I can do. So yeah, we have this game called Mind's Eye Secrets of the Forgotten from the same publisher. Another adventure hidden object game for $5.59. Yeah, probably old. If you really cared about selling these games, you would not cannibalize your own market and have them come out at the exact same day. You would break it apart over the course of a week or so. It would be funny if it turns out the reason why there's so many games today, which I doubt this is the case, but it'd be funny if it turns out that Steam came out, told these people, we've noticed your game has changed its release date several times. If you don't release it by your current release date, we're going to delist it or something like that from the popular upcoming list. I don't see how you could consistently enforce that, but that might scare enough people to actually release their games instead of just try and play games with the popular upcoming list or the upcoming list. Next we have a game on Steam called Cockroach Planet Survival. This is clearly just a low effort title and looks like it's a low effort game with as if boy does this anime girl just stand out as wrong. Look at these realistic human hands, and then anime girl, and then low effort life bar survival game. This game is all over the place for $9.99. Yeah, right. I don't have any more demons to play, so I'll just see if I can draw cards. Next we have a game called Infinite Chili Sauce, which looks like it's a very low effort clicker game, probably from an Asian country. Like, this looks really Eastern. English language not supported, $1.39 Chinese. Imagine that, like, you have today in games we've looked at, we've had a Japanese anime style clicker that's showing lewd, sort of semi-naked anime girls, and then you have a Chinese clicker that is just people making chili sauce. Wow, that's just like two extremes of the edges of puritanical thinking versus more, I guess, open thinking might be the right phrase or wrong phrase. Well, I can tell you, I would a million times more be willing to pay money. It's the exact same price, I think, too, $1.39. I'd a million times more be willing to play Juice Girl than Infinite Chili Sauce.
Is someone injured?
Let's see. This is a dragon. This is a charge. Gamatsu has an article, action RPG AI limit announced for the PS4. Here's the thumbnail. I haven't heard anything about this. See, apparently it's Sony Interactive Entertainment, Shanghai, and Palmer Pioneer Sense Games Studio. An action RPG for PlayStation 4, part of the second wave of PlayStation China Hero projects. Interesting. Let's see. Well, I'll watch this video and see what it's all about. Now, I saw little flashes of these games in that China Hero project, and I wanted to see more because I really would, as much as I hate cheap Chinese games, I would like to see Chinese people make good video games. The more good games, the better, always. So, what I would say is this game looks like it's inspired by Nier Automata. You have a sword floating off the back of a white-haired woman. The difference here is the white-haired woman has long white hair, and the sword looks slightly different, but that's very little. It seems like there might even be a robot floating behind her in drone, like in Nier Automata. Seems to be a hack and slash sword game where you're fighting robots that don't look human at all. The animation from the front looks a little rough, but not terrible. And at the end of the trailer, the girl got stabbed by some black wires. And is like floating in a mental world. And so now she seems to be hurt, and her eyes look like maybe she got reprogrammed, or maybe she broke her AI limit programming is the general idea. But I mean, that's a weird setup because you are already fighting robots, and so now you're breaking that programming.
Versus Uther. I will fight with honor.
Your soul shall be mine.
Second paragraph starts in this. Players can wear a variety of headwear, body, limbs, and other components to adjust their abilities and create a unique character dress. The game has a rich variety of weapons. You'd think that would be priority number one, not number two. I want to play demons here, so I'm gonna reroll all these. Along the way, players will encounter a wide variety of characters and work with them to advance the story to understand all aspects of the world. This is a very generic description of a game. This game has multiple endings, all depending on the player's understanding and judgment of the world.
Reporting for duty.
So maybe it's an amnesia tale. Maybe she loses all of her memories.
Why do you call?
Doesn't look too bad for a little teaser trailer. I can't immediately hate it.
Reporting for duty.
Man, might be getting sick. There's maybe a lot of allergens in the air, or just a lot of swing in temperatures. Let's see. Gamatsu has another article. Online game Convalaria announced for the PS4, introducing player versus enemy and player versus player elements. Is that what PvE stands for? Player versus enemy? I should remember that. I'll watch this trailer too, but I'm not super hyped on a PlayStation only online game. Like, that is totally out of my wheelbase. Looks pretty, but this is very possibly just a cutscene too. I don't know if this is another... Yes, this is another China Hero project. Yeah, it kind of looks like a Final Fantasy style of game, or heavily inspired by Final Fantasy. It's gonna be a slightly unfair comparison to say this, but like, almost definitely all the Chinese games are going to be heavily inspired by something. Like, it's unlikely that too many people anywhere in the world are going to be able to figure out how to make something that is completely unique and not feel like it is stealing or borrowing ideas from so many other games that already existed. And for China to come into what is a 30-40-year-old developed and matured video game industry for the first time in a legitimate way, yeah, they really don't stand a chance. There's a girl dancing in a dress spinning around. You can tell this is a Chinese trailer though, because they're not showing any of the panties of the girl. She's like dancing around on a piano, a giant piano, and then it's cutting between this girl dancing and this guy fighting in kind of a Final Fantasy way. I suppose it would be an interesting question to see if anybody from like Square Enix who worked on Final Fantasy would be willing or has ever jumped over to a Chinese company. I doubt it. Yeah, I seriously doubt anybody in China would, anybody in Japan would want to move over to China. There's too much history there, and they're kind of hated for somewhat good reason. So if somebody was going to expatriate from Japan, they would almost certainly not move to another Asian country. Okay. I bet there's probably a whole bunch of these, but these are slightly more interesting. So Gamatsu has an article, horror adventure game In Nightmare announced for the PlayStation 4. This is more of those games. This one might be a super surreal one or not, so yeah, I'll watch this trailer. I don't want to show the trailers on screen though, because this feels like there's too high of a chance of somebody claiming a copyright on a game that's actually on a trailer that is not copyrightable, but that doesn't matter. So in this game, you have kind of a red-headed kid in a hoodie, and he's got bandages over his mouth, and he's like sneaking around in this world of monsters. That's pretty dark. So I imagine this is a nightmare monster kid escaping other nightmare monster people. This is a somewhat unique idea. There have been other games like this, but you wouldn't immediately go, oh, this is just a direct ripoff of that, because horror games are so generically the same anyways. It's hard to make that claim for anything. It's going for a very CG 3D style, like with a lot of smoothing, not going for anything sharp or realistic. Which that cartooniness might work really well in a longer horror game where if it was actually scary to look at, it would probably get annoying or emotionally draining to play, something like that. This game reminds me of some game, I think it had Albino Lullaby, I think is the name of the game I'm thinking about, that went into early access and released on PC like a couple of years ago at episode 1, and I know Jim Sterling did some voice acting on it, and then I'm not sure Albino Lullaby ever finished its release or did anything more since then. It's just like another great example of early access games, like why you shouldn't buy them, why you shouldn't support them, even if it's a big ticket, somewhat promoted game. Which, I mean, I would say Albino Lullaby was probably a medium ticket, somewhat promoted game. But speaking of people who are getting in bed with video game publishers and also are video game critics, Sid Alpha has also put out a video talking about how he's voice acting in the game. Like, seriously, I would never voice act in a game if I was a video game critic. And I am a video game critic, so I'm literally saying I would never voice act in a game. If I was going to do anything with a video game company, I would go in as a consultant, because at the very least I could say, well, my criticism and my skill that I show on my channel is the same skill that they wanted me to give them. And I could see myself being a consultant to game developers and then saying, I acted as a consultant on this game, therefore I have a conflict of interest, therefore I will not be reviewing this game or playing it or promoting it in any way whatsoever. That's as far as I could go. But voice acting makes an argument that people love the voices of video game critics on YouTube and that their voice talent is so good, and that's just not realistic to believe. It really isn't. The idea that your voice is so wonderful and that's why people listen to you is ridiculous. Most people who are video game critics have kind of gravelly, average voices. It's not the worst voices you've ever heard, but it's not particularly good. And it's nowhere to the level of what I think of when I think of voice acting. When I think of a anime voice actor who can do several different characters and sound completely different. That's what I think about voice acting. The fact that video game developers are even giving these jobs to video game critics is just ridiculous attempts at nepotism and cronyism. Well, not nepotism, but cronyism. Moving on, we have a Gematsu article that I don't think is about the Sony Shanghai. Gouken is coming to the Switch March 28th in Japan. Apparently this is a top-down RPG, action RPG. It's coming to the Nintendo eShop for 980 yen. Gouken was on PC, so let's look at the Steam page instead of watching the trailer. Give me a few more demons. So here's Gouken on Steam, and we can see it's mixed. reviews, and you really don't see too much of that. So, unless there was a reason for it to have mixed reviews, I guess this is not going on the follow list. So English and Japanese languages. Let's see.
None will
Date,
survive.
show graph. Okay. There's one negative review in the last 30 days. And then there was 7 negative reviews in 2017 when it first came out. So let's click on this one negative review. And let's see. One negative review says, not worth getting in my humble opinion. The movement is not smooth, especially during attacks. Bosses' attacks are homing. The whole game is only 4 quests, and you really need to read the dialogue because you don't give a hint on the map where to go next. Okay, so this just feels like Gouken is a really short, not well polished game, and yet they're re-releasing it, I guess, just to make a few more bucks. And I guess I don't need to do backflips to make sure if that game is on my wish list or follow list. If I see it again, I'll find out the same information I just found out, and then I'll remove it at that point, doing a follow list cleanup or wish list cleanup. Next, Gematsu has an article, Hardcore Mecha PlayStation China Hero Project Spring Showcase trailer. So this is a 2D platforming shooter game called Hardcore Mecha. This one seems to be even less interesting. It's going to be for the PS4 and PC. Like, I wouldn't mind a good mecha game on Steam, because I still haven't really found one. Just a lot of bad ones. But yeah, there's actually nothing wrong with this. This looks pretty good, actually. So maybe they will make the first good one. But I guess a lot of this also is just hype for games that aren't even close to being out. So we're really giving some special preference here to the PlayStation China Hero Project, because they just broke down all of the games that were announced. Like, next we have a game on Gematsu, and notice none of these games have been talked about by any of the Western people I followed. No Tech Raptor or anybody like that talking about it. Immortal Legacy, the Jade Cypher PlayStation Hero Project Spring Showcase trailer. Let's see. It says it's a VR horror first-person shooter. I feel like some of these Chinese developers are gonna be into VR a little bit too little too late, or just too late in general. Like, I feel like everybody else has probably played with the concept of VR and realized it's a bad idea. This doesn't look terrible, but it is just a VR game where you're walking down some caves and picking up items, guns and weapons, and then like a goo monster from Resident Evil 7 attacks you at the very end. I think particularly horror games you're not going to really want to play on Steam in VR. That's what I meant to say. Do I still not have a demon? That is a demon.
Unleash me.
Next we have a game on Steam called Mantanga, which says it's a horror game. I don't see anything here that that catches my eye as far as a horror game. It looks like it's just the asset flips. $3.99, English and Russian. These icons on the thumbnails and on the Steam achievements in particular make me think it's probably a low effort game or a troll game. In general, I guess any game that's a horror game where it's just something chasing you, let's see, that's probably not something I'm interested in. Variety has an article, and I'm not going to really read it or anything, but it's how Hearthstone's Curse of Hakar event became a viral success. And really the number is the only thing that's interesting, is that nearly all of the player base got that Curse of Hakar. Let's see, Hakar's mark spread to 87% of North American Hearthstone players, where it seems to have maxed out. Now, the question there, though, is the definition of active players, which is really what they mean. Because if it was everybody who has ever played Hearthstone, even once, the percentage would be considerably less. And because a lot of people have most definitely given up on Hearthstone and stopped playing it.
Your soul is mine.
Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Gladiator Blade of Fury. This looks a little too janky and not polished enough. And the backgrounds and environments don't feel like they have polish on them. I think For Honor would be a better game than this, and it's $9.99. I don't even think For Honor probably is the right pick for that style of game. Next, we have a game on Steam called Hypnospace Outlaw, which seems to be a super surreal, weird, apparently American history-based point-and-click simulation 1990s game. This looks like a low-effort troll game, if I would guess. Like, if there is some kind of master artistry happening here, and this is really a great idea. It's not even out yet. I don't know how it got on the list then. But yeah, this looks like a troll game. I'm not going to give it any more time unless somebody can convince me that there's something else going on. Alright, this.
Mushroom power! It's playtime.
Your soul is mine.
Die, mate.
Moving on. Gematsu has an article, romantic narrative adventure game Half Past Fate announced for consoles and PC. This feels like this is what you would call a visual novel from a slightly different perspective. But actually they're not tagging it as a visual novel, so there must be something more here to it. Okay, we've got a bunch of ones. What do we want to do? Let's do this. I just kind of kill everything.
It's playtime.
Oh, well, I lost. Did I play enough demons? So it seems like you're kind of walking around in what might be the new version of RPG Maker, but I wouldn't even throw that accusation out there because it kind of doesn't matter. Like, it seems like you're walking around and talking to people. Half-Past Fate, probably not that good, but whatever. Probably good enough. And speaking of good enough, let's see. That puts me... We've got all the daily quests here. We've got 6,000 gold on the Asian account. We've got 2,650 dust on the Asian account. We're set pretty well for the new expansion. Let's go back to the Americas account and see if we can challenge a friend. Meanwhile, while I'm doing this, I'm going to go through my remaining stories and either close or talk about something. Alright. So if anybody wants to jump on as I'm going through the news and challenge me, that would be great. So yeah, I've got a lot of duplicate stories. We didn't even cover this, really. GameIndustry.biz, Valve lays off 13, some involved with VR. Company says layoffs do not represent any major changes. The thing though here is, who knows how many employees are at VR, at Valve? Like, maybe not that many, maybe a lot. Maybe these were the bad 13 people. Maybe these were the 13 people who were always jokingly making Half-Life 3 leaks, or the people that were causing all kinds of problems in other ways with, like, allowing games onto the Steam store that shouldn't be there. If somebody actually is allowing games on the Steam store, I don't think they are. Or possibly they were the people that were disallowing all the Japanese visual novels on the Steam store at a certain point. This might just be fallout for things that happened 6 months, a year, 5 years ago. Or it might just be randomly people were laid off. Gamatsu has an article here. The Alliance Alive HD remastered Japanese teaser website opened. First screenshots. Never heard of Alliance Alive, though. Apparently it was released in 2017 on the 3DS. So I'm not sure if it's still coming out for the 3DS. That would be kind of weird. No, it's due out for the PC, Switch, and PlayStation 4 in Japan. Like, let's see. There are Western and PC versions apparently planned. So if you know what Alliance Alive is, this probably looks better than the 3DS version. I don't know though, so we'll leave it at that. And like, one of the games we're not talking about today, and we'll leave just for Monday, is Devil May Cry 5, which I hear is great, so we'll leave it at that. Yeah, that doesn't tell me anything. I might, anytime on the weekends, I might go through some of these games and just decide that, oh, this game is not worth mentioning at all, and do a little cleaning. Gamatsu has an article. The Messenger has been rated for the PS4 in Europe, so apparently it is coming to Europe for the PS4. It's already on the PC and the Switch, and an expansion is in development. Interesting. I'm not sure if I'd actually want to play the Messenger though. It's one of those games where I think I could probably ignore it and be fine with that. It had a flash in the pan. Yesterday, March 7th, the Team YouTube on Twitter said, quote, this issue is fixed and view counts are restored. Thanks for all the reports / suggestions / memes as we work things out. Now, thanking people for their memes is digging your own grave. So apparently Team YouTube now wants memes. Like, I don't get that. That same company we talked about earlier, Mythical Games, is looking for a senior producer in Seattle, Washington. Let's see. Game of Citra has the same article. Valve laid off 13 staff and terminated a portion of the contracted developers last month. I want to look for like Valve News Network to see what he has to say about it, but I'm not even sure if Valve News Network ever actually has any information that's helpful or right. Like, he may just have a good title and that's about it. Let's see. I'm kind of prioritizing a lot of these Gematsu articles. They're just announcing games that aren't coming out anytime soon. Gematsu has an article, Atelier Lulua, the Scion of our Land, limited edition announced. More of the Atelier JRPG series that seems to really have just popped up out of nowhere. It's due for the PS4 and Switch on March 20th, and for the PS4, Switch, and PC May 21st in North America. Let's see. Let's see. Gematsu has an article, Octopath Traveler Champions of the Continent announced for smartphones. A single-player RPG set before the events of Octopath Traveler. So it's a Square Enix game for iOS and Android. It's free to play, but probably will have some microtransactions or DLC, if I was to guess, considering it's Square Enix. Game of Citra has a blog called The Philosophies of Gameplay that, if I had time, I might read. But probably not worth reading. Most of these blogs aren't worth reading. Gematsu has Sega Fest 2019 details the event lineup. So there'll be a Sakura Wars exhibition, a Great Atlas exhibition, Mega UFO catcher, a huge Sega Saturn controller, huge Sega logo monument, and Sega logo bread of Taiyaka. Let's see, Darts Live Experience, live stream booth. A lot of this probably doesn't have much to do with Sega as a video game company as it does with the other things Sega does. So that's the Sega Festival. If they announce anything new, we'll get more information. There's another blog on Gamma Sutra localizing Kinshi, a post-mortem. Apparently Kinshi was like a long 30,000 word game that needed to be translated. Not a visual novel, I don't think, but 30,000 words is a lot. Let's see, Gematsu Wonder Boy Returns Remix, rated for the Switch in Korea. So, Wonder Boy Returns first launched on PC on October 26th and then PlayStation 4 on March 2017. Moving on, we have romance visual novel Your Diary Plus coming to the PS4 and Vita on June 27th in Japan. Interesting, it's coming to the Vita even though the Vita is no longer in development. First launched on PC in 2011. It is on PC. We'll see if it's on Steam. Yes, it is on Steam too. So, yep, another visual novel. Let's see. Gematsu has an article, date a live Rin Dystopia teaser trailer due out this summer. So, I'll skip watching that trailer for now. You definitely have a case here where there's a lot of news coming out from Gematsu talking about Japanese games and visual novels and such. That's why I have Gematsu as a news source, is that they are the only ones that even mention them. And maybe a lot of these games only deserve a mention, but I think every game deserves at least a mention for the most part. Maybe some of the extremely low effort games don't even deserve that, but meanwhile, GameIndustry.biz and TechRaptor seem to talk about kind of the same big AA and AAA games that everybody's going to know about anyways. Although I have noticed that it seems like either a lot of bots or real people go on Facebook video game groups and ask for recommendations for games, and I don't understand why they do that. Like, it seems like they just are so out of the loop and don't listen to any kind of coverage at all, either from any kind of streamer or any kind of news site, that they're just asking random people that they don't even know to say, hey, what do you recommend? But I also suspect a lot of those are just bots, just people trying to start fights, or trolls, or actual bots that are just trying to advertise games. Because sometimes these questions seem stupidly dumb. Like, how have you not heard of Tetris type questions? We have a GameIndustry.biz article. Nintendo introduces the Nintendo Labo VR kit. The fourth Labo series includes 6 creations, including VR goggles for a shareable, simple VR gaming experience. And remember, the Labo works with the Switch, so the VR goggles would be magnifying their lenses. They're magnifying lenses for the Switch's screen, I assume, and not a separate set of screens that work absent of the Switch screen. TechRaptor has an article here. Pathfinder 2nd Edition details for release announced by Paizo. I'm not sure if this is a game though, or if this is a tabletop game. Even if this is a video game, there's like no links or anything here, so you can't really do anything about it. Gematsu has an article, Samurai Showdown, to be published by Athlon Games. It's not a free-to-play title, don't worry. So, this is actually Samurai Showdown, S-H-O, no W. Seems to be intentionally misspelled. It's due out this early summer. PS4 is the only confirmed platform. So another fighting game. Alright, and that puts me at the Humble Bundle store. So, I already purchased for myself the Humble Indie Bundle 20. I didn't even bother to e-beg for it, because I wanted to get it cheap and early on the medium price that increases over time. And yeah, there's really nothing else to even mention. So I mean, I guess I can mention the Humble Indie Bundle in case you're interested. If you pay $1, you'll get a Steam key for the First Tree, Tangle Deep, and Among the Sleep Enhanced Edition. I forgot it. I got that. If you pay more than the average, which is now $3.95, so it's jumped up about 30 cents since I bought it like yesterday, you get Getting Over It with Benet Foddy, Tooth and Tail, and Dream Daddy, a dad dating simulator, which that's a pretty good deal for $4 still. If you pay $10 or more, you get the game Overgrowth. I don't think that's worth it, so I skipped out on that. And finally, I guess I could just double check to see that the world has not blown up with news. But let's see if there's anything here. Today is, I guess, International Women's Day, although who makes these days I would like to know, and I would like to see the calendar, because it sure seems that, like, even 4 months in, we've had at least 2 or 3 Women's Days of some sort. And I'm not including like Valentine's Day or anything there. I mean, seems like there's an International Women's Day, there seems to be an International Black Women's Day, and then International Minorities Day, and like, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like these days happen more than once a year. Let's see. Scrolling down here. Let's see. There's now more language support for Twitch streamers, which I guess is nice. Yeah, I looked at my Twitch account just to see if I had gotten anywhere closer to being like an affiliate to make money on that, and I was like, no, not really. Nowhere close. And that's not super surprising. Like, I would have to get so many followers first on Twitch for no reason, and then shift all of my attention to streaming live on Twitch to get enough hours and watch time consistently. And I still probably would have to abandon YouTube and focus on Twitch for like 2 months before it even happened. And who knows if you did make any money or not. Yeah, it looks to me like there's nothing new that happened. So that's going to be the end of the stream. I'm going to come back and check what the stream looked like with the new encoder. And it seems like everything seemed like it was fine. Yeah, so unless it just looks horrible on YouTube, we should be good. That's going to be it for the stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam, or gift me a game on my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.